favor using the team that they know that is good. And so Yuri had to come up with a new team, but yeah, he did that and he managed to come up with something new, and I'm looking forward to seeing those two players crash.
Yeah, particularly when you've had a team you've had so much success with as well. It's really hard to tear yourself away from it. But Alessio, even though he does like running the same teams, he's still such an adaptable player. So any kind of Pokemon that come his way, he's going to be able to utilize them really strongly. And I think his experience is something that's really going to show through in this best-of-3 set. He's going to be able to adapt. He's always going to be able to stay calm under pressure. And that's something, you know, Till has a lot of experience in as well. He's played some phenomenal games on stream before, and he's had to remain calm and collected and just keep focused on the turn ahead and the turns going past there as well. He's always got a really well-rounded view of the game. But trainers, we have got the teams on the screen here. On the left-hand side, on Alessio's team, you have got the Rayquaza, Ferrothorn, Gengar, Tapu Fini, Kyogre and Incineroar, whereas Till's running the Incineroar, Groudon, Xerneas, Gengar, Tapu Fini and Landorus.
Yeah, so it's one of those old stories where it's going to be Primal Groudon and Xerneas against Rayquaza and Kyogre, and that's really one of those matchups where it might look on paper as if, well, the Kyogre can of course hit the Groudon if Rayquaza is around, but on the other hand, Xerneas has a good matchup against both Kyogre and Rayquaza, so it's really about positioning and getting in those positions to get your legendary Pokemon to do all the damage. So yeah, I think the fact that both of them have Mega Gengar will make this, or potentially Mega Gengar, will make this very interesting, because that's one of those Pokemon where if they carry Shadow Ball, then that can really swing the matchup. But if they don't, then they kind of stalemate each other a little bit, trapping in the partner Pokemon, but they would be free to switch out despite the Shadow Tag ability due to being Ghost type. So I think for the first game, both of them probably want to figure out whether Gengar has to come in this matchup. I think for Till, the Tapu Fini on his end is going to play a huge role here, because it's one of the only Pokemon on his team that can take some of those boosted water type attacks, and so he really wants to have that Tapu Fini to do some damage potentially to that Kyogre if he finds a way to do that. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I said it before. Yuri, on the other hand, as I was saying, also with an interesting combination here, because Tapu Fini is usually not seen on the Kyogre teams too often due to it being another water type. Yeah, so though Yuri might have found a way to use it despite that. Of course, you can use another water type Pokemon alongside with Rayquaza to knock out Primal Groudon, and that's also always an option here. And now, yeah, both of them are already jumping into the game. There we have them. And we are seeing a Gengar and Tapu Fini lead coming out from Yuri. And Till is going to open the battle with Incineroar and Tapu Fini on his own.
Yeah, we've got two Tapu Finis on the field here, and like you said, I think that's going to be a really crucial Pokemon for Till. But he does have to worry about Alessio potentially having that Ferrothorn in the back. Intimidate on Incineroar there, not really going to affect either of these special attackers, but Alessio does have the option now to get that Shadow Tag up and trap in Incineroar and Tapu Fini. Tapu Fini as well does not want to be taking any poison type moves from that Gengar, but Tapu Fini is going to switch out, and it's going to be the other water type, like you mentioned there, Marcus, as the Kyogre jumps onto the field.
Yeah, and there we have the Kyogre on the field now for Yuri. So he's the first one to bring his Pokemon with the weather setting ability on the field. Though if he is going for the Mega Evolution on Gengar, then the only way for Till to really switch out would be U-turn on the Incineroar. So yeah, we are already seeing some interaction here, because if Yuri successfully traps in that Incineroar, then that's a free KO kind of almost for his Kyogre.
Yes, that's very true, and getting the Mega Gengar up here, Sebi will be happy. He loved seeing that in the previous game, but it's going for the Protector, doesn't want to take any damage, and just wants to keep that Shadow Tag up on the field. Incineroar goes for the Fake Out though, going into that Kyogre slot, of course cannot tackle down against that Gengar with it being Ghost type, as the Tapu Fini here goes for an Icy Wind, going to connect onto that opposing Kyogre that has switched in, and it is going to have its speed reduced by 1 stat here.
Yeah, so Till kind of wants to reduce the speed a little bit of both the Kyogre and the Gengar potentially, though, yeah, that did not happen. So now, yeah, you would expect the Tapu Fini to outspeed the Kyogre, but Kyogre should still be faster than the Incineroar on Till's end. So, yeah, it's still difficult for him, as now the Incineroar is, yeah, locked in there due to Shadow Tag, and this could be the first KO here for Alessio if he manages to get off a strong water type attack on that Incineroar.
Of course, because even though Till does have Groudon on his team, he's going to be unable to switch it in thanks to that Shadow Tag ability, so the rain is going to be up at the moment. Unless Tapu Fini wants to go for something like a Nature's Madness, there could be a lot of strong damage coming out from that water, but instead it's going to be a taunt coming out from the Gengar going into Tapu Fini that does go for that Nature's Madness, wants to reduce the damage that something like Water Spout could give out here. Of course, will not affect the damage of Origin Pulse.
So now let's see.
Oh, it's a Z move.
It looks like Incineroar is in fact faster than the Kyogre, so Incineroar will go ahead and use its Z move, probably doubling up into that Kyogre slot.
Yeah, you want to get rid of that Kyogre as best you can, one of the big restricteds.
Yep.
So just going straight into that slot there, just wants to pick up the double KO, the KO with the double target into
Yeah,
it.
wow.
Oh, I love this Z move as well, and it's lovely seeing a fire type going down against a water type, but thanks to it being a dark type Z move, it's not going to be affected by the weather there, of course, and the heavy rain will be removed from the field.
Yeah,
so
the malicious Moonsault just getting the clean KO there, and Gengar didn't really do too much. I mean, it's still trapping in both the Tapu Fini and the Incineroar with Shadow Tag, but the taunt didn't do a lot, as Till, with two Pokemon, Incineroar and Tapu Fini, both usually a little bit more on the supporting role, but he kind of built them in a way where they can actually do a lot of damage, and taking that Kyogre out of the battle is really a big thing.
This is what I love so much about Tapu Fini, is how adaptable it can be. Having that Nature's Madness still gives it some form of offense. Even if its other three moves are maybe more supportive in nature, it still can deal out a punch and help your partner Pokemon pick up that crucial KO. Alessio has, of course, brought back in that Tapu Fini, whether he maybe wants to start firing off some Icy Winds off his own, just to kind of get that speed tier sort of negated out a little bit. We'll have to see. But Gengar, of course, unaffected by Icy Wind as it did not connect due to the Protect, goes for a Sludge Bomb into Tapu Fini, does huge damage, and activates that Super Berry there. So Tapu Fini able to regain 50% of his health thanks to the Wiki Berry, as Tapu Fini goes for an Icy Wind again. So Till really wants to focus down on reducing the speed of Yuri's Pokemon. With the Gengar being exposed as well, it's a good opportunity to get the speed down on that very speedy Pokemon as well.
Yeah, and Incineroar could go for a Darkest Lariat into that Mega Gengar, which would do a lot of damage, and we have already seen that this Incineroar probably is a little bit more on the offensive side of things. So yeah, if Till was able to also knock out that Gengar, then yeah, he's in a prime position to take the game home, because Alessio, even if he had Rayquaza in the back, he has already used the Mega Evolution on his Gengar, so that would not be an option, and Gengar actually is able to hang in there with just 2 HP remaining.
Oh, that Gengar is clinging on here, wants to stay on the field, keep that Shadow Tag up for another turn, and as we've seen that it does have access to Protect, and the Z move has already been used, Gengar is able to potentially stay on the field another turn if that's what it wants to go for.
Definitely, and I think now is the time for Till to maybe go for a U-turn with the Incineroar. It did all the damage it needed to do. But yeah, with a U-turn could probably knock out the Gengar and then bring in the fresh Pokemon, get rid of all those speed drops from Icy Wind, as yeah, Tapu Fini of Alessio moves first, so now Incineroar will take the Icy Wind, and if it decided to go out with a U-turn, that would reset those stat drops.
Exactly, just to get all those speeds reset up. Incineroar does go for the U-turn, is enough to pick up that KO on the opposing Gengar, and it will return to his trainer. So Till has that Intimidate, that Fake Out, to use another day, as Alessio is down to his last two Pokemon, the fourth one yet to be revealed. We have to remember this Tapu Fini is at -1 speed as well, so even though the new Pokemon coming in will be fresh, Tapu Fini still has that one little speed drop.
Yeah, Till still has his Xerneas in play, and Mega Gengar of Alessio is already down. So that is one of those Pokemon that you really don't want to be facing up against. However, Yuri still might have a Ferrothorn in the back, so that could be one of those Pokemon that could do a lot, but no, it is his own Rayquaza. So yeah, as we were saying, no Mega Evolution available for it, and Incineroar just coming back in after the U-turn, just proving how dynamic it can be, just U-turning in and out. Now with Intimidate again on the Rayquaza, which can be huge, and Fake Out Pressure to support the Xerneas potentially, which could go for a G-Mancy if it wanted to.
Yeah, that Intimidate is going to be crucial against Rayquaza. It can't switch out. We saw in one of our previous Swiss games, you keep switching in that Intimidate, it can be really detrimental to Rayquaza's power. And again, of course, facing down against the Xerneas, that's not a position Rayquaza wants to be in. If you're Till, though, right now, you're sitting quite pretty. You have got that Fake Out on your opposing Incineroar, leaving your Xerneas free to pretty much get the Geomancy up here as well. With that Tapu Fini being really slow, you don't have to worry about a taunt. But no, Geomancy going to go straight for a Dazzling Gleam, just wants to get off some really good damage. Isn't enough to pick up the KO on Rayquaza, as Tapu Fini does go for an Icy Wind in return.
Yeah, this might indicate an Assault Vest under the Rayquaza, and I think what Till was doing there was kind of clever, just going for the Dazzling Gleam, because in case Yuri's Tapu Fini had Haze, then that could have been a way for him to get rid of the speed drop and the attack drop on his Rayquaza and all the boosts on the Xerneas. However, that did not happen. Instead, we're seeing an Icy Wind coming out. So now Rayquaza off Yuri would be the fastest Pokemon, but yeah, it should not be powerful enough to get a knockout on the Xerneas. And even if it did, Till has still one more Pokemon in the back. So yeah, we're seeing the Dragon Ascent coming out, but at a reduced attack stage, the Xerneas should take that really well. And wow, that had almost nothing.
Yeah, it doesn't even do 50% there. So Xerneas is able to go for another Dazzling Gleam. We all know this will be able to pick up the KO against Rayquaza and does a huge amount of damage to that Tapu Fini as well, putting it down into the yellow. With Till having 3 remaining Pokemon, I don't feel like Tapu Fini is going to be able to take this out for Alessio. Goes for another Icy Wind, does just take a little bit of chip damage against both these Pokemon with a little critical hit, but Xerneas still in the green on its HP bar.
Yeah, and Till really in full control of this battle. Now, yeah, going for another Darkest Lariat just for a little bit of damage to check whether that Tapu Fini also has one of those Super Berry. Doesn't quite activate it yet, I think 1 HP missing there. But yeah, Xerneas should be able to get the knockout easily with the Moonblast. And Yuri also knows that, is going to hit the forfeit button, and Till will take game 1 in a pretty dominant fashion. I think the combination of Nature's Madness and the Z-move Malicious Moonslot from the Incineroar was really something that Yuri did not expect. And knocking out the Kyogre in a matchup like this can really swing it very, very heavily in one favor. And yeah, Till taking the first game, looking really good.
Really, really strong. And I think you're right, losing that Kyogre was detrimental to Yuri's sort of strategy there. It must have been really tempting if you're looking at the Incineroar and you've got the Gengar on the field to think that Gengar would be the target of a Dark-type Z-move, particularly as it had just protected. But no, Till was able just to double in onto that Kyogre, maybe take Yuri by surprise just a little bit there, because you often want to get rid of that Gengar. It's fast, it's powerful, it threatens your Xerneas, and while it's got Shadow Tag, it leaves you with very little mobility to switch up your ball positioning. But I think targeting down into that Kyogre was a really great play by Till, and this sort of does relate to what we say about this format at the moment, where your ball positioning is crucial.
Yeah, it really goes to show that he knows what he has to target. Like, he could have taken out the Mega Gengar and been happy with it, but he realized that once he takes out the Kyogre, assuming that he still had that Groudon in the back as well, taking out the Kyogre means that, well, it's super, super difficult for Yuri to come back into the game. And the Mega Gengar usually is used early game just for support, to prepare the board a little bit, maybe with like Taunt and Icy Wind, stuff like that, to then bring your legendary Pokemon in place. But yeah, with the Kyogre already being knocked out, Rayquaza that was in the back, Till knew that it could not go for the Mega Evolution, since we have already seen the Mega Gengar on Yuri's side. So knowing that if he removes the Kyogre, that's like a lot of damage potential removed from Yuri's team, and that's really what we saw here. And yeah, coming out on top here, and yeah, for the second game it's going to be interesting as to whether Yuri decides to go with a similar strategy again. Of course, he now knows about the Z-move and knows about the speed tiers, that the Tapu Fini and the Incineroar will outspeed his Kyogre if it is at a reduced level of speed. So he decides to match what his opponent was doing, leads off this battle with Tapu Fini and Incineroar.
Yeah, sort of says, Till, this is what you've brought to the table, I can bring it as well. And we see the Intimidates going off against both these Pokemon, only going to really affect against the Incineroar. But I think the key thing here is both players are looking to maybe get something set up here with some kind of speed with Icy Wind, maybe try and get some taunts off to stop the opposing Tapu Finis from going for anything. But at the moment, it is kind of a stalemate. You need to go for fake outs, go for U-turns, and get your restrictions in. And I think the ball position change that's going to happen from here is going to really determine the rest of this game. And Alessio needs to make sure his restricted Pokemon do not get shut down the way that Till was able to do it in game 1. Fake out going from one Incineroar into the other here as Tapu Fini goes for the Nature's Madness. I think that was Till's Tapu Fini that moved first, going into Alessio's here, taking it down to 50%, as this Pokemon decides to go for an Icy Wind. So we know in the next turn, Alessio is going to have the speed advantage.
Yeah, this is kind of, as you were saying, a little stalemate situation where you don't really want to switch any of those Pokemon out because you don't want your legendary Pokemon to take any of these attacks. So now it's all about positioning a little bit. Alessio identifying that, Misty Surge and Intimidate from his opponent's Pokemon went first, so that both of them are faster than his Pokemon. So instead of trying to get off some damage with Nature's Madness, which he might also carry on his moveset, he goes for an Icy Wind to slow them down a little bit. But Till might be fine with that. He just wants to spread some damage here with Nature's Madness, prepare everything for later on. But we're actually seeing Moonblast being the attacking move of choice on Yuri's side. Nice
reveal here of the Moonblast. Does a chipped amount of damage there to the Tapu Fini, which is able to go back with another Nature's Madness, this time targeting down against the Incineroar. And you can really see the damage output that Till is doing here as his Incineroar decides to go for a U-turn to take that damage even further on Incineroar. But I really don't think you can underestimate that Nature's Madness. Even though both Incineroar and Tapu Fini tend to be more supportive Pokemon, the amount of damage that Alessio has taken compared to Till just from these first couple of turns is quite So there's a really big difference there, and it could be really
sure.
detrimental later on in the game.
For sure, and both of them are now kind of prepared to be knocked out by Xerneas on Till's side. So now Yuri also identifying that this was the time where he wanted his Incineroar to be switching back with U-turn, and now he has a free option to switch whatever he wants. Of course, the Mega Gengar would be a nice Pokemon to bring in here, but Ferrothorn also is pretty good Pokemon. So this time around, it looks like he did not bring both of the Mega Pokemon and also not two of the legendary Pokemon, because he probably felt like in the last game that kind of hurt him a little bit, being restricted there a little bit. But now with the Ferrothorn, that's a new one for him, and really threatening both the Xerneas and the Tapu Fini, and that's where in those game 2s where really the adaptations came into play.
Yeah, I like the Ferrothorn here at the moment. I do wish it was paired up with that Gengar, just maybe trapping in Tapu Fini and Xerneas, because they're two Pokemon that the Ferrothorn really, really likes to go against. But if Till has that Groudon in the back, and we already know that he's got that Incineroar, a Pokemon with Intimidate, but most crucially, both those Pokemon are Fire types, and that's something that the Ferrothorn does not want to face down against. Xerneas, of course, is able to switch out and brings that Incineroar back onto the field. I think it's great.
Yeah, this could be a Nature's Madness into the Ferrothorn, because Till now realized, okay, Ferrothorn just hit the field at the same time as my Xerneas. Now he could try and maybe call back the Tapu Fini and switch into his Incineroar to then fake out it next turn, but even then, it's kind of dicey, because there could be a Kyogre switching in to make sure that there's no Flare Blitz hitting into the Ferrothorn. And it looks like we're having jumping back into the game, but with the Nature's Madness now, preparing that Ferrothorn for a little bit further, meaning now that a boosted Moonblast would be able to get the KO on that Pokemon potentially. So Till really not trying to be too quick, instead plays a little slower, knows that he has his two supporting Pokemon with the Tapu Fini and the Incineroar, and that he can allow his Xerneas to just switch back and come in later.
Exactly, and you can see from Tapu Fini as well, Alessio is kind of leaving it alone to keep going for these Nature's Madnesses, and the Ferrothorn there already at 50%. It's already going to be weak to the Incineroar and the Groudon, but like you said, that Xerneas in the back as well, able to maybe pick up a KO now if this Ferrothorn does keep having its health chipped away, and then Xerneas doesn't have to live in fear of it at the moment. Yeah,
and I think against these type of teams... Oh, actually, we're seeing a heal pulse, so that's one way to get rid of all the damage that he took from Nature's Madness. But we did not see a fake out, so this could be a Flare Blitz going into one of those Pokemon. We're actually seeing another Nature's Madness, so maybe Till anticipated this heal pulse to come out. We're just seeing a U-turn, though. This could have been an option for him to get the knockout on the Ferrothorn. However, instead, going for the U-turn, and instead probably will bring out his Primal Groudon this time around, if he has it.
Yeah, this Tapu Fini on Alessio's side keeps surprising us. It has Moonblast, but it also has that Heal Pulse, and I don't think that could have come at a better time at that moment. Of course, Till was just trying to get more damage off with that Nature's Madness, potentially setting it up for something in the back, but Till has also revealed his fourth and final Pokemon, and it is going to be that Primal Groudon. With that confirmation of the Rayquaza in the back, we don't know if the weather's going to be able to change up at the moment. Groudon's going to be very happy in the sunshine.
Yeah, and if you have a look at the Pokemon that Till brought to this battle, now, though, after we check how much damage this Power Whip does, Tapu Fini barely taking this, and now will activate the Berry. So if there was another round of Intimidate, Tapu Fini easily could take another one of those Power Whips. So Till still has all of his 4 Pokemon at decent health. And what I was going to say is, with Tapu Fini, Incineroar, Xerneas, and Primal Groudon, like, that's a very standardish setup, right? But with how he has trained his Pokemon and has this combination to knock out the Kyogre, Yuri had to change his game plan entirely, and now decided to bring the Ferrothorn, and that's probably not something that he's used to doing against these Xerneas and Groudon teams. But now Till can really use that, knows that his opponent did not bring 2 of their legendary Pokemon, and so instead has free reign of like the damage control with Nature's Madness, and cycling in his Incineroar back and out without having to fear being knocked out.
Exactly, both these trainers thinking on the same wavelength here and bringing their Incineroars back onto the field. The Intimidate most crucially going off against that opposing Groudon. Goes for the Precipice Blades, and Incineroar nimbly does dodge out of the way, so it is going to target down against that Tapu Fini. It is not enough to pick up the KO though, and will activate that Berry. So Tapu Fini able to regain some health here, and it doesn't really have to worry about too much damage coming out from that opposing Incineroar either. Goes for a Moonblast of its own though. This is going into that Incineroar slot. It's going to do a decent little amount of damage there. It takes it down to maybe about a third HP remaining, as the Misty Terrain will leave the field as well.
So somehow the Tapu Fini ended up this turn with more health than had before, and unfortunately for Till, Groudon was not able to get the knockout on Incineroar. So we're still, both trainers still have all 4 of their Pokemon remaining, and we have already seen the Tapu Fini of Alessio's side has Heal Pulse, so that is one way for him to keep his Pokemon around even longer. On the other side, Till now has 2 fire types on the board, which could mean that now this could be the time for, the 4th Pokemon on Yuri's side to finally hit the battle, and it is going to be that Primal Kyogre.
Yes, this is going to, of course, stop any fire-type moves from going off, thanks to the Primordial Sea ability that the Kyogre in Primal form is going to bring to the field at the moment. Of course, Groudon still does have access to the Precipice Blades, which is such a strong dealing move. And with the Incineroar leaving the field, both these players at the moment still have access to that Intimidate switching. They've got U-turn, they can bring an Intimidate again, they've got Fake Out. So both players, I think, will be playing along the same card there. Precipice Blades coming out, going into
the Protect on top of Fini. So that's the 4th move that we have. Interesting moveset and good information for Till, obviously. So now, though, with the Kyogre on the field, it's important to see where the U-turn goes, actually into the Protect. So that's a nice turn of events here for Yuri, who now has the Kyogre in a very, very good position to deal a lot of damage to both Incineroar and the Groudon. Of course, both being fire types, water type attacks super effective against that. And this was a nice turn of events. Tapu Fini usually does not have Protect, and so a lot of players just go for the, as we were seeing, the safe kind of U-turn into the Tapu Fini, so you make sure that you can reposition. But no, Alessio blocks that with Protect, and now Till has to play out of that situation somehow.
Yeah, safely switches out the Groudon, which I think is a really safe play. You can see that the Kyogre would easily have taken another Precipice Blade, so just get your Groudon out of the rain as Tapu Fini does go for another Heal Pulse. Going to help Kyogre regain the HP that it lost from that Precipice Blades, and its faces down against the Incineroar and the Tapu Fini with a full HP as well, going for the Water Spout. Sort of massive damage here. I love that play where Tapu Fini really helps him out, does a huge amount of damage to the opposing Tapu Fini, takes it into the red, but as well, Protect on Incineroar, that's something quite unusual.
I was just going to say that yet another Protect that is not that usual, because Incineroar usually wants to have like all the support options that it can have, so like Fake Out, U-turn, and so on, and then 2 damaging moves, but instead Till opted to go for the Protect here and is able to keep all his 4 Pokemon around again, as Yuri with this Heal Pulse and Water Spout combination would have taken a clean KO in this slot, but thanks to the Protect now, Till would be able to bring out his Groudon to make sure that there was no water-type attacks coming his way. But of course, Yuri also is aware of that play, instead calls back the Kyogre, and so it is waiting for him in the back, and we might see something like an Icy Wind coming out from his Tapu Fini.
I love that. Keep your Kyogre in the back to bring the rain back again, as Groudon has reset up the sun. Tapu Fini on Till's side doing what it does best and going for that Nature's Madness, targeting down the Tapu Fini on the opposing side of the field as it opts to go for a Moonblast, so targeting down into that opposing Tapu Fini, and has removed the Nature's Madness from the game. And I think that's been a really nice dynamic we've seen in this game. Till's Tapu Fini going for all of these Nature's Madness, taking down 50%, whereas Alessio's Tapu Fini going for that Heal Pulse and regaining all of that HP. So again, kind of stalemating each other out.
Yep, so now though, Till, with that KO, he is able to switch in the Xerneas without taking any damage, and now he has both his legendary Pokemon on the field, the Primal Groudon and the Xerneas, and Incineroar has access to Fake Out this turn, but he can only Fake Out 1, so we are either going to see a powerful Precipice Blades, Groudon was not intimidated, or we're going to see the Geomancy setup, and I think this turn can be really, really huge, because there's a potential, like if, say, Till reads the Fake Out and sends out his own Incineroar for Fake Out support the next turn, then I think, he might be in a very, very strong position. On the other hand, though, he probably doesn't want to take the risk of guessing wrong here, and he might just go for the safe play, which would be like go for Precipice Blades and Geomancy, be like, okay, like one of them gets faked out, but the other one will get off a very, very powerful attack here.
Of course, these players really going down to the wire. Alessio takes his time down to 0. Hopefully he managed to get his moves clicked in time, as Tapu Fini will return back to Alessio, as Kyogre's going to join the field and bring the rain. Something that the opposing Groudon does have to be concerned about. Something to bear in mind as well, you've got that Ferrothorn in the back, so even if a Geomancy does go up here, Ferrothorn is still one of the best answers to Xerneas. The Fake Out is going to come off here and going into that opposing Xerneas, stopping any Geomancies, as Groudon does go for Precipice Blades, so we know it doesn't deal too much damage to that opposing Kyogre, but poor Incineroar here isn't going to be as tough and will be KO'd.
Yeah, and this time around, no misses, no dodges here on the Incineroar side, so Yuri now also going down to 3 Pokemon, and it's still anyone's game, because the Ferrothorn can be really, really powerful. It has already had his HP chipped in half by the Nature's Madness, but we were seeing Protect on the Incineroar, so there is a chance that Till's Incineroar actually does not have Flare Blitz, and that would leave Groudon as the only Pokemon that can knock out the Ferrothorn without any additional boosts. Like the Xerneas probably would need a Geomancy boost to use a Moonblast, so there's still some options here for Yuri, and one of the most crucial things in this battle is probably going to be like how do these Pokemon match up in speed-wise. We've seen Xerneas take the Dragon Ascent super well earlier, so this might be a little bit more of a bulkier Xerneas. However, it's still outspeeding everyone else on the field, and Dazzling Gleam does not pick up the KO though, but Groudon with the Precipice Blades misses the Tapu Fini, but connects with the Primal Kyogre of Yuri, and that is the KO. So Till's Pokemon, both the Groudon and the Xerneas, outspeeding both of Yuri's Pokemon, and that means that, yeah, there's no target for the Heal Pulse. Yeah, Yuri probably looking to go for another one of those Heal Pulse and Water Spout plays, but instead, Till gets the KO on the Primal Kyogre, and this should be the game.
Yeah, that was such an unfortunate turn for Alessio there. Losing that Kyogre was so crucial. With Ferrothorn in the back, unprotected by the rain, really is not going to have a good time against Groudon here at all. And Tapu Fini, even though it was able to survive, it went for the Heal Pulse, was kind of null and void at that stage. It had no partner to Heal Pulse into, and you see Alessio there click the forfeit button, and Till will be taking the Swiss round 3. That was such a dynamic battle, Marcus.
Yeah, really cool matchup in my opinion, because for both of them, the Xerneas and the Groudon and the Rayquaza and Kyogre combination, I felt both of them had kind of like their own twists and added their own ideas to those archetypes. So instead of